everybody. I'm here today to talk to you about 5 types of driving test turns you might have to do. Now, these are different types of turns that you might have to do for your driving test. It all depends on where you live and the driving test environment that you're taking your test in. You might have to do all of them, you might have to do some of them, but you're guaranteed to have to do at least a couple. I've never heard of a driving test where you don't have to turn, you just drive in a straight line. You always have to turn at least at some point. So for the most part, you're gonna have to do at least a couple of these. So I recommend that you be ready to do any of them. So whichever ones you are required to do, you'll be fine doing them. Number 1, regular right and left turns, okay? Now, most likely you're gonna have to make quite a few turns on your driving test. You're probably gonna have to make a right turn and a left turn, so at least one of each, okay? I'm gonna give you a tip with each of these, so stay tuned for all of them because I'll give you a tip. Now, here's my tip for this one. Usually, people are better at one type of turn or another, okay? I myself am better at left turns and worse at right turns, and it sort of sticks with you for life. It's just the way that it is. So, figure out which turn you're better at and which turn you're worse at, and really work on the one that you're worse at, because you're probably not going to fail because of the one that you're good at. If you end up failing or losing points, it's probably going to be because of the one that you're not so good at, okay? Number 2, a 3-point turn. Now, it all depends on where you live, but 3-point turns are very common for driving tests. Where I live in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada, many people have to do them, okay? The majority of people have to do them from what I've heard, okay, with very few exceptions. With that being said, a 3-point turn is actually one of the easiest turns that you can do, but the most important thing, so here's my tip for this one, the most important thing is scanning. Scanning for a 3-point turn is just as important as the maneuvers, because you have to make sure you have more than enough time and more than enough space to complete the 3-point turn properly. The actual maneuver of turning the wheel and doing the 3-point turn is really simple, but scanning is the hard part, okay, that you have to master. Number 3, a U-turn, okay? Now, a U-turn is like an advanced version of a 3-point turn, in my opinion, because it is fewer movements, but it requires way more safety checking than a 3-point turn, okay? And that's because in order to have a place that's big enough for a U-turn, usually you need a bigger space than a 3-point turn. A 3-point turn requires more movements, but it can be done in a smaller space. Therefore, there's fewer possibilities of any cars, creating an unsafe situation. However, with a U-turn, you need more space. It's just one swift movement, but you need more space. So, my advice for that is really make sure that you have more than enough space and more than enough of a traffic gap to do the U-turn. I have unfortunately known many of my friends and family members that have gotten into accidents doing U-turns, whether they were doing the U-turn or they were driving and someone did a U-turn in front of them. I myself have had a handful of times where someone tried to do a U-turn in front of me and I had to slam my brakes so I didn't T-bone them, okay? So very, very important. They will be looking at your level of safety, especially throughout the U-turn. So really make sure that it's safe to do so before you proceed. Number 4 is reversing to the right or the left. Now, when you reverse to the right or the left, here's my tip, okay? You need to understand which way to turn the wheel to go right or left when in reverse. Here's how I learned how to do it. When you're facing the front of the car, imagine that you're reversing. We're not actually reversing when we're looking out the front, but we're imagining that we're reversing, okay? So we're imagining that we're reversing, and I'm facing the front. If I turn my wheel to the right, then the rear of my car would go to the right if I was reversing. As if I'm looking this way to the front, the rear of my cars are going to go to my right. If I turn my wheel to the left when reversing and I'm looking at the front, the rear of my car is going to go to my left. So the rear of your car will follow your steering wheel direction. That is my tip for that. Last but not least is number 5, which is a curve in the road. Now, curves in the road, depending on where you live, can be quite common or quite uncommon, okay? So they can be all over the place or they can be very rare, but you're probably going to encounter at least one on your driving test. It's very important, here's my tip for this one, to manage your speed properly when tackling a curve in the road. You can tackle a curve in the road, and if you're going too fast, your steering is going to be off. It's going to cause you to lose some traction, and that might cause you to lose points or even fail your driving test. So when you're tackling a curve in the road, be wary and be careful of the speed that you're traveling. Be sure not to go too fast or even too slow, because if you go too slow, your steering is much harder for that curve in the road. That's it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.